Welcome to Two Hearts Dance and Yoga, Heart to Heart series. My name is Leanne Barber, owner and movement creator at Two Hearts Dance and Yoga. And it's my pleasure to bring you my dear friend, former teammate, and all around talented human, Alexandria. She is a graduate of the Howard University, where she was summa cum laude with a BA in fashion merchandising. She danced on her dance team at Howard called the Bisonettes. After graduating from Howard University, Alexandria stayed in Washington, D.C. to continue to the NBA's Washington Wizards team, Wizard Girls, where we became teammates. While in DC, she also danced for Reflections Dance Company, the Washington National Opera, Dissonance Dance Company, and El Teatro de Danza de El Salvador. Years after graduating, Alexandria moved to New York City to further her dance career and danced for Urban Ballet Theater, Brooklyn Ballet, and Nebula Ballet. So New York City felt like home to her. Alexandria left New York for the opportunity to dance for the world famous Universal Circus. After a wonderful time with the circus, Alexandria joined the Royal Caribbean International Cruise Line as a dancer and aerialist. Looking to get into commercial industry, Alexandria moved to Chicago and joined Hipley Ballerinas, a ballet fusion company under the direction of Homer Bryant. With Hipley, she has danced in the Montclair Fashion Show in Paris Fashion Week, as well as many other spotlights. Her most recent work includes appearing in the Fox TV show Empire and Hapsatshut, a short film that has been shown in international film festivals, directed by Sonia Hines, and an Orbit Gum commercial. She shares her years of dance and fitness experience by teaching private ballet lessons and small group fitness classes. Welcome, Alex. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. The pleasure is all mine. Before we get into everything, how has all of this change in the world affected your professional dance career?
Well, it's canceled everything. Definitely Hipley Ballerinas. We were on tour before all of this. And I remember, I think it was March 13th or 14th, those shows were canceled.
Okay.
And so, we've been on a break, but then in the middle of the whole quarantine, we started rehearsing via Zoom. Now I'm happy to say that we're back in the studio rehearsing 2 days a week and just trying to put out content on our Instagram and just stay fit, stay ready for any upcoming performances that we get.
Very good, very good. I'm glad to hear that you're still involved with Hipley, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But it's good to hear that you're still moving and dancing and staying fit like you always have. You have dedicated much of your life to dancing. How did you discover your love for dance at a young age?
Well, my mother put me in dance, I think, like everybody's mom. But my mom actually was a musical theater minor in college, and then my grandmother performed as well. So I think it was going to happen anyway. But actually, my first ballet classes when I was 3, I wouldn't stay in the class. But I'm told that on the last day of classes, I did everything. And then the teacher told my mom, you need to keep her in dance. So I guess that's where it started, but I actually didn't start taking professional dance classes at a studio until I was 11.
Well, you have like blossomed into this beautiful, talented ballerina. And we were actually teammates for a few years on the NBA Washington Wizards girls. I've had the pleasure of watching you grow as a friend and as a dancer. You have danced in several different cities and have traveled professionally for dance. And it's a dream of many of my dance students to move to New York City and dance like you did. Tell us about your transition from DC to New York City and some of the early challenges you had with dancing.
I just knew that I needed to be where most of the auditions were. While I lived in DC, I would just plan and go to New York back and forth for auditions. But finally, I decided to move. I mean, the move was challenging. You're in a new city, you need to make new friends, you have new ballet teachers, and then you also need to sort of get accustomed to the audition culture of New York. But I'm thankful that it worked out and that I ended up enjoying New York so much. I never really wanted to leave.
Yeah, and I remember visiting you up there, and you just seem to like love the city and everything. I guess just tell us a little bit about like your audition process and just planning for auditions and like making different gigs and things like that. That we can tell our students about that kind
Mhm.
of life in New York City and what it's like.
Yeah. So I just always made sure that I was staying on top of my craft. So in the mornings, I always planned to take a dance class. In terms of finding out about auditions, sometimes I definitely made sure I made friends at the dance studio, because you're going to find out about a lot of jobs and auditions through word of mouth, through your own community. But then I also would look at websites. So dance answers for dancers was my primary source of finding out about auditions. And that's another thing I had to learn. There were so many people showing up to these auditions. You needed to make sure that you got there early so that you can put your name on a list and have an earlier number. Although you could still end up staying at the audition all day, which really would be your goal, because if you stayed all day, that means they liked you. And just going into the audition room, it can be intimidating because there are so many people. Uh, but just having to learn to just focus on yourself, and knowing that whatever is for you will be for you. Sometimes it's not that they don't like you, it's just that they were looking for something else. So just making sure that you were focused and giving your all at the audition, and making sure that your personality shined through. That once your students moved to New York, they would need to get a job. So I always made sure I worked at restaurants as a hostess, so that I could dance during the day and then work at night. That it's definitely a challenge, but that's why you have to know that you have to make sure that you want it.
Right. Exactly. Good advice. And thank you for sharing kind of your day in, day out process with us. It does make a difference because it's like, as a dancer, a lot of dancers have that dream of moving to New York City, but don't realize, what you kind of have to do to get to those goals, and making sure that you're continuing to take classes, making sure that you're continuing this to have a job so that you can pay your bills, and keeping up on the audition scene as well. So all of those things are very important. Awesome. Um, Ballet at the professional level is tough. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work. It's very, grueling on your body as well. You have so much grace and perseverance. What did you do to prepare yourself physically and mentally to train and dance at the professional level for ballet?
Really just making sure that you were in class, and
Mhm.
really taking the advice of the teachers to heart. So, I mean, there were some days where I usually wrote down my corrections, as well as just making sure that I took from a lot of different types of teachers. Typically for ballet, it really is about technique, and that you can't get better at your technique unless you're constantly working on it and going to class. In terms of strengthening, I made sure that at like 2 times a week, I was taking a good point class, that to really work on developing those little muscles to gain strength and to be a strong point dancer. Because I definitely, I will say I never wanted to look a mess in class. So in New York, I probably didn't take a whole ballet class in point as much as I should have, but I was always in point class to work on that strength.
I booked a big job with Universal Circus, and that show showcases a predominantly African American cast. Tell us about your experience under the big top.
It was a lot of fun, but it was a circus. uh, it was free. It was great to be with a bunch of performers. It was amazing because so it wasn't only African Americans. It was Black people from all over the world. So that was you know something amazing in itself, just to be around people from different countries and to hear their stories. uh Circus is actually a really big industry, which I didn't know until I took the job with Universal. So everyone there, most of them were aerialists or acrobats, so they had been training since they were kids, or they had been performing since they were kids. So it was truly amazing. And then it was just such a special time to perform for a bunch of young children, uh, to see and to have those children see themselves on stage. I think a lot of people don't realize the value in having kids, specifically, Black and brown kids, to see themselves doing different types of things so that they can just, fully absorb the possibilities that they have in the world. So, yeah, and then, I made friends. I still talk to my roommate from back then who was from Brazil.
Yeah,
So it's just good to have friends that are from all over the world.
really neat, really neat. I just remember, when you got booked for that, and it was just really cool to see like how many like dimensions that show has. Like there's so many different performers at so many different levels, and it's just like it is like it's just like a complete circus. There's so much that goes into it. I guess, can you tell us a little bit about like the behind the scenes of production and kind of what your role was as well?
So I was in the beginning of the show, the opening, and I was essentially the ballet dancer in the opening act. A lot of people had more roles in the show. So for me, since I was in the beginning, I would get to the circus site around maybe 7:30 a.m., maybe 8 a.m. I would warm up in my trailer and get dressed and be ready to go. Other people had different schedules because they weren't in the show until maybe right before intermission or after intermission. The show was pretty long, so my challenge during those days was actually finding ways to keep productive while the show was going on. So that's actually how I got into aerial dancing, because I started working out with my roommate. But also, so my opening act, it was just me as the ballet dancer, and then most of the dancers in the opening act were hip hop dancers. So a lot of the hip hop dancers would work on choreography, or I would give them ballet classes. We really tried to be productive. A lot of the cast, they would do these concept videos. It was really cool. I mean, I am never the one. I'm not a choreographer, so I'm not the one to think to develop something. But I loved watching these artists develop stories and then film them. It was really cool.
Really, really neat. And I'm going to ask you about your aerialist work too. That's really cool that, that's how you learned, and you kind of made it a part of your, like, your just routine by having somebody who was a roommate who was doing it. So that's really, really awesome. Um, your career then took you to touring internationally with Royal Caribbean International Cruise Lines as a dancer and an aerialist in their production cast. How did that come about, and how did you transition into the aerial dancing on that level?
Well, I auditioned for Royal Caribbean while I was in New York performing with the circus. So, I wouldn't have been able to get to the audition if we had not been in New York. So I would actually take the train to Manhattan, like an hour away on the train, take a ballet class in between shows and come back. But anyway, so I ended up auditioning for Royal Caribbean, and of course they were also looking for aerialists, dancers that they could train as aerialists. So I had already been working on that stuff, so that really helped me during that audition. And as much as I loved the circus, I definitely was ready to do some new things. So when I received that letter, I was just so excited. Once I got the job, the training for aerialists through the cruise line was definitely very intense.
Yeah.
A week of doing exercises as well as learning choreography. So for me, as someone that I had only worked out as an aerialist. I hadn't done the work yet. So it was very challenging.
Can you share any challenges that you might have had while performing on the sea?
Well, mostly it was fun, but rehearsals are challenging because you are learning a show every 2 weeks. So every day you're learning, maybe two dances, and then at the end of the day, you go out over everything you learn. So little by little, you're running the whole show. And then the other challenge that I would say, something that I didn't necessarily notice at the time, but definitely I looked up and realized that there was one or just one brown couple in every cast. It was rare to find more than just yourself as a brown person um, in the cast, which you have to think like, okay, is this done on purpose, or is it just that a lot of Black people didn't audition, which that's hard to believe because people of all types are in the dance industry.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and then also dealing with people that haven't been in as diverse situations as where you come from.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah, because you're in kind of tight quarters too. Very,
right, you are with your cast all the time.
wow.
So that is something that I would, when I finally would get to the ship, I usually would make sure to make friends with people in other departments and make friends with people from other countries.
Right.
One, to benefit, like, just to benefit from experience and getting a whole experience on the ship. And even, I would usually make friends with people from Spanish speaking countries to practice Spanish. So that really helped. Because essentially you're in rehearsals in Florida or wherever your rehearsals are for about 6 to 8 weeks. And so in those weeks you are learning three to four shows. Then you move to the ship, and that's what they call install. So you then install the show onto the stage. So you start by just blocking. They do it like Broadway. So you have numbers on the stage, and that's where you know where to stand.
Yeah.
So actually in rehearsals, you have to write down your numbers, because even though you think you're going to remember your placement, it's not the same as knowing your number. Because a choreographer might be like, "What's your number?" And you're like, "Oh, it's 6." So first you do that. Then you have your costume fittings, which is amazing. These seamstresses, they make anything work for you. Then you run the show in your costumes a few times. Uh, then you're finally running the show with the lights, with the costumes, with makeup, and then it's opening night. And then yeah, and then you think you're done, but you're not, because you have 2 more shows to install. It's just the same process over and over again. But once all of that is done, and once you know the shows easily, then that's when the fun begins.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing with us. Never would have known that it was that way. So thank you for giving us that little insight. That's awesome. And I know you were, how long were you dancing with Royal Caribbean? I know you were, seems like, it seemed like a while to me because I remember you were gone for a long time and I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, it was 3 years, yeah.
Okay. Very,
So, oh, and then lastly, another challenge, which I think anybody would assume, is just being away from home
yeah,
for a
yeah.
long time.
Mhm.
And, you can't just pick up the phone and call your family. Uh, you pay for Wi-Fi on the ship,
Mhm.
or when you get off the ship, you're looking for free Wi-Fi so that you can contact your friends and your family. It takes a long time to not feel the need to contact them so much, so that you can just enjoy your time off the ship. I know for sure my first contract, I was calling my mom every day. Yeah, I don't say that to discourage anyone. I always say, I mean, you can always come home.
Right.
So I always say, if you're afraid to be away from home, still try out. And if you get the job, still go.
Yep.
Um, Most likely you'll change your mind once you're there.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Most recently, you danced with a company called Hiplay. Can you share what Hiplay is?
So Hiplay is a ballet fusion company. So we do ballet, but then we incorporate hip hop, uh, African dance, Latin dance, jazz, and it was founded by Homer Bryant. He's actually has been doing that type of choreography since the 90s. He used to do rap ballet, where he would go into schools and teach kids about the benefits of dance, and really about just being like good citizens. But he would use dance and rap. But of course, rap evolved into hip hop. So I think in 2005, or maybe even before that, he was just playing around with his students, and just finding different ways to move, but while in point. And that went viral. So then, these young girls started getting booked for commercial work. And at first, the dance community, like, they got a lot of backlash from the dance community. But I think people were looking at these young girls and holding them to professional standards. And, they were still learning. They were still, they had maybe only been in point maybe a year or two, or, they were definitely still learning. But now a lot of the girls are adults now. And then because they were getting booked, they wanted more professional dancers. So that's when I went. So Homer Bryant was my original ballet um, teacher. So, it made me feel like my career came full circle, because now I was back with my original ballet teacher and working for him and helping, spread his message through the world.
It's really, really, really neat. And it's cool because I've seen, commercials, I've seen on like Good Morning America, I think,
Yeah.
years back, like when things were starting to get bigger. So it's awesome to see that you're a part of that cast and you've been doing work with them. I guess tell us a little bit about like some of the work that you've been doing. I know, I remember you told me when you were, overseas in Asia, which is really cool.
Yeah. Uh, we did do a lot of work with Asian brands, actually. Um, we've worked for like Coke Sportif Korea a few times. When was this? 2019. We went to Hong Kong and danced in the Chinese New Year parade. And let's see. Yeah, like you said before, my first job was doing the Montclair fashion show in Paris. So it definitely was amazing, and it was grateful. We were very grateful to have people from all over the world seek us out to come to their countries and work with them. Um, Also, I think it's just really cool that hip play is now a genre. So, I wish Homer could get, at least $1 or a penny anytime the hashtag is used. um, but I think it's definitely another part of his legacy. Just it's a genre now. Amazing. I mean, Missy Copeland was already doing this, and of course there was always Dance Theater of Harlem, but I like that. I mean, I just have always wanted to perform, so I joined the company to do more commercial work and to continue my dance career and to work with Homer. But I didn't expect that so many young girls would look up to us. I grew up in a dance studio that was diverse, so being the only one I wasn't affected by that, but I've learned so many young girls' stories of being the only brown person in their dance studios, and I didn't realize that we were having such a big impact on them. So, with the tour, Hipley has been touring for about a year now. We were going to different universities and performing in their theaters. And so many little girls would come and want to meet us afterward. And so even that's not what I set out for. Like, that wasn't what I thought um, my purpose would be for pursuing my dreams. But it certainly is. They inspired me because I didn't plan for my dancing to have even a better purpose than spreading positivity in people's lives.
I know that has been like such a big thing as far as like there are a lot of communities, even in where I grew up, there weren't a lot of little Black girls dancing, or you just didn't see that many in the studio. So it's great to see that, this group is, setting the tone for the next generation of ballerinas. So it's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad to see you're a part of it. I'm like, yay, that's wonderful. So, what's the dance scene like in your home area of Chicago, and what have you been doing during the pandemic?
So during this whole pandemic, I started out I was taking maybe 2 or 3 Instagram dance classes
Yeah.
online. So that was really fun. And I had never really dedicated time to putting out content on my Instagram. So it was a time for me to start working on that. I also started teaching private classes, like teaching my friends floor bar, and I helped a girl prepare for her future high school dance team. So I realized that I really enjoy teaching, specifically ballet, because I mean, there's just so many little. Ballet is like a lifelong journey of knowledge, just because there's so many little things, little muscles that people don't know, and so many analogies that once you give that right analogy to a student, then it changes their whole line, you know so I realized I really enjoy it. In terms of the dance community and the dance scene in Chicago has a lot of dance companies. We have, and historical ones too, Joe Hall, Gus Giordano, Hubbard Street. We had River North Ballet. I think they've been closed for a while. Don't quote me, but I haven't heard of them in a while. And then of course Joffrey, as well as a big theater scene. So a lot of musical theater auditions to go to, and then even Empire, it stopped filming, but we had Empire, so that was great opportunities for the hip hop community. So, definitely if you're not ready to move to New York, I would say Chicago is a good city to come to for your dance career.
You mentioned that you were actually on Empire and part of that scene. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So it honestly felt like I was getting so close to my ultimate goal, which is to be on a TV show. Uh, so they contacted Hipley actually, and they were looking for a girl to be a ballet dance double for a new character. So I learned a lot during that time because I also helped train the girl and teach her the ballet choreography so that her arms and her head would be in the right place when they were getting close-ups on her. So that was a great experience being like a rehearsal director or an assistant choreographer. And then, so I did that twice, 2 different episodes. And then I also ended up being able to perform as myself in one episode. Unfortunately, that choreography got cut from the TV show. So
That's
you will see a very snippet.
that's the TV. I tell you, like they cut and edit so many things. It happens all the time. You're like, I was there and I did it
Yeah.
on TV.
Yeah. Of course, ultimately, it's just you want to get paid. That's honestly the most important thing. But for artists, we're so used to doing things for free or for little money. We just really want to be seen. We're all in our trailers getting dressed to go home, and we get knocks on our doors like the director wants you to come back. So then we end up staying pretty much all day, but I'm grateful for that because then I got to be seen in a tiny scene as like an extra.
Really cool. Like you've told us all about kind of your dance journey and the things that have continued to be present in your life even during challenging times. But what motivates you to keep going? Like this industry is so competitive and firsthand, but what is it that inspires you to just keep pushing forward?
I think really it was the support of my family because I definitely needed their support for so many years. I might have given up if they were not there to encourage me. But also, even though, especially in this day and age with Instagram, you see people that get 15,000 followers, and you see them working with people that you want to work with or doing things that you want to do. It's difficult to not compare yourself, but actually that helps me to keep going because I know I've been working as hard as them or as long as them, so there's no reason why I can't do the things that they are doing. So that's what really keeps me going, as well as knowing that there's a big industry. So as an artist, there's always a way to transform yourself and evolve. I personally still am not ready to give up performing, but I know that in order to stay current, I can start choreographing, or I can start teaching more. I can build my own school if I want to. So that is what keeps me going. It's just the capacity that an artist has in their industry. So keep going, students.
Very good. Thank you so much for all of the gems that you've given to us. And I continue to watch you as a friend, just growing and blossoming and doing all the beautiful things that you always said you wanted to do. So thanks for inspiring me. And I hope we can get together soon.
Yes, for sure. And thank you for inviting me. And I mean, definitely you're inspiring too. You have your own business. You started your own yoga business. You teach private classes. You teach kids. I mean, definitely,
You're
it's not easy to have your own company and to get started. So
Yeah, well, thank you. It's people like you that keep me going and pushing towards my dreams. So I appreciate it. And on behalf of Two Hearts Dance and Yoga, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And we'll be looking for more things from you. Can you tell people where they can follow you or learn more about you and what you're doing?
well, I don't have a website right now. So on Instagram, Alexandria T Franklin. So T as in Teresa. And
Awesome.
that's where you can contact me, or you can even email me at alexandriatfranklin@gmail.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. We appreciate it so much, and we will continue to see all the lovely things that you continue to put out into the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and follow Hip Lay Ballerinas as well.
Yes, definitely. We will keep looking for your beautiful face gracing the hip lay ballerinas. And yeah, awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye bye.